All right. You have to turn them on, the little button. All right, welcome to our District 3 meeting. We are going to go ahead and do just a really quick introduction of our District 3 board members because we have some new faces. So I'll go ahead and start. I'm Brooke Barnes. I represent the Lakewood neighborhood and this is starting my third year on the neighborhood board and I love it. It's been awesome.
I'm Andrew Terry. I live in the Sunset neighborhood. Also been on the neighborhood board for about 2 years now. So
I'm Haley Glenn. I'm from the Provo Bay area and I've been on the board about 2 years.
I'm Derek Ney. This is my first time. I'm for Lakewood and yeah.
My name is John White, and I represent the Lakeview North neighborhood. I just joined the board, although I've lived in the neighborhood for about 30 years.
Awesome. Does Matt want to introduce himself?
Matt, do you want to introduce yourself online? Oh, there we go. Not hearing him. Oh. Let's see. Does this one need to be on for him to hear? Hey, Matt, do you want to try introducing yourself again? Oh, okay. Well, Matt is online.
One more try. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yay, there he is.
Sorry about that. Matt Peterson. I've been in the district board since that program started. And prior to that, I was the neighborhood chair for Lakeview South neighborhood for about a year.
Awesome. Do we have any other online board members? Okay. All right. Well, thank you for coming tonight. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Rachel Breen is going to give us the update on the Epic Regional Sports Park.
Hey, thank you so much. Okay, just to let you know the latest on the Epic Sports Park. This is an update from the park manager, and they're excited to give you an update on the park and what's going on. So the parking lots and playgrounds remain open during city park hours. During the winter, the family restrooms on the north end continue to be available and accessible. The walking path concrete work is done and the final touches are set for spring use. Last fall, the park's address changed to 1200 Epic Lane to improve traffic flow via Lakeview Parkway. And new signs are being installed on site and along I-15 to direct all traffic through Lakeview Parkway. And our goal is for all traffic to enter and exit the park via Lakeview Parkway. The new provo.gov/epic website is your go-to resource for park information. They'll keep it updated with events and project news. Check the calendar for major tournaments and the FAQs for common questions. If you don't find what you need, please email the park manager. They're happy to help. And here's some contact information. Thank you for your continued support as we continue to work towards completion of the Epic Sports Park. Feel free to reach out to the team with any questions or concerns. And did we have any questions from residents here about the park or these updates? So let's see. So we had a question about the playground not being open.
It's open, it's not.
Is it that, because before it looks like it's closed, but you just had to unlatch the gate. Is the gate locked? Is it locked because of winter? Oh,
It's noted. I'll take a look at it. My name's Foster. I'm the Parks and Recreation Assistant Director, so it shouldn't be locked. So if you ever find that it's locked, send me an email or text and I'll take a look at it. Yeah.
okay. So the question was, is it open for use and reservations? It has been open if we want to let Foster address that.
Sure. Yes. So we plan to open in early spring to get going. Right now, the fields are dormant, so we don't use the fields currently. We can do damage to the fields if we do. So we're letting those grow in and come out of hibernation. And when they do, then we'll open the park. So as far as tournaments are concerned, we've got 3 slated for the spring, all in different times. And you can find more of that information on the website as we update that. And then we are totally anticipating having local play there. I mean, we will have a lot of our local teams that are being scheduled to play. Registrations are open now. So if you have children in that area, please sign them up for our programs. And the goal is to have all teams and everybody enjoy that site. So you'll be scheduled at the Epic Sports Park.
Foster, do you know with the pickleball courts, if you guys have decided if those are going to be like some of them open to the public, or if it's going to be kind of more like the soccer fields where it's like more of a tournament?
No, we anticipate there will be enough courts to have open play and just be accessible. That was definitely a need that we saw within the community, so we wanted to be able to provide that as well.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I see where you're going with that. So there are times that I think we are planning to host pickleball tournaments that would be there. So in those certain circumstances, the courts may be used. But as far as open play, there will be times where they're just, as you would come and go to a regular park, just available for use.
So it will be open for neighborhood use.
Yeah. Yes. Barring anything that we've scheduled to help offset costs, construction and other things like that. Yes, that will be.
And the schedule will be posted so we can know.
Yes. Yep.
This may be kind of too far. I know because the pickleball courts, there we go, aren't done. But do you think that you'll probably end up using the rec center's current reservation website to reserve those courts, or do you think they'll mostly just be like first come, first serve?
That's a great question. We don't know. So first off, depending on the demand of how many people are going there, if there will be open courts, that could be something that we could work into this. We have our neighbors to the north, I think in Orem, they have like a reservation system where they kind of do that. We've looked at different types of options. As far as that's concerned, I don't know if we'll need to have a reservation schedule if we have enough open pickleball courts. So just depending on demand, we'll see how it kind of goes and kind of work into the operations of it as we get going.
Cool. Thanks. Any other questions?
The question was, will there be lights on the pickleball courts? Currently, we are not planning to have lights on the pickleball courts. Currently, there are not any lights there. It is not in any of the plans currently to have any lights out there.
Do we have any more questions? Oh, do we need the microphone so people can hear? It's just so people on Zoom can hear you.
Sorry, I kind of have a gym voice anyway, but my question is, what are we to do if we live near the Epic Sports Park and there is not enough parking for the groups in use, especially during those tournament days? I live not too far from there and we did see a little bit of overflow I don't know if that was because people didn't want to pay for a parking fee and they were looking for quote unquote free parking. Does anyone have any advice on how we can handle that, myself, my neighbors?
So as far as the management of the park and parking from the 2 tournaments that we ran before the season ended, we did not find that there was a parking issue at all. So we had plenty of parking for the tournaments that we were hosting. We think with the research that we've done that we'll continue to have enough parking. When we make agreements with national tournaments that want to come in, sometimes they want to offset the cost of their tournament fees. And so we do sometimes do either revenue splits or we share. It's kind of based on whatever tournament it is. We would rather not have to do anything with parking, but if that's a way for that tournament to come in and recoup some of the cost of doing a reservation, then we will do revenue splits or things like that with parking. So we are going to a new format as far as parking is concerned for the spring, and it will be very similar to how they do parking enforcement here. So we'll actually be leveraging some of the infrastructure that the city currently uses to do parking. So they use what's called these really fancy LPRs, license plate readers, and they just drive by and they can know if people have purchased their parking out there. So the previous system that we had where we were kind of taking gate as people were coming through, that would change. So you just go and you park, and then they would get a QR code that they then could pay for their parking either daily or for the whole entire tournament. So we think that will also alleviate some of the difference in parking that we saw early on with those first 2 tournaments that we had. If you ever have problems with, we don't think we will have a parking issue. And we're committed to having resources put in, to keep people from neighborhood or anybody with the tournament. We will tell them there's no tournament parking here. You need to park within the park itself. If there are any issues with that, though, we will have parking enforcement support there to help us as far as like if they're illegally parked and doing other things like that. So we're committed to doing that, and we think that, we're pretty confident that we'll have enough parking there.
Thank you.
Awesome. Good question. Go ahead.
I know
Foster.
you guys have a packed agenda, and so if you have any questions for me, I will be here throughout the meeting. So if you want to catch me after or in between, that would be totally fine. But yeah, I know you guys have a lot on your agenda. So, and if you ever have any other questions or concerns, you can always reach out to me as well. Rylan is the manager of the park. Again, I'm the assistant director. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thanks so much, Foster. Okay, well, let's go ahead and move on. We are going to have Andrade Christensen, I think, is going to be presenting for a proposed zone change.
Okay, and while they're coming up, just to remind you to be respectful, the developers and our city staff are not required to attend the meeting. So we appreciate that they're here, and this is a great time for us to take advantage of speaking to them directly. Thoughts to consider are potential benefits or downsides. Can we ask for a development agreement? The answer is no. Instead, we like to ask, how will you guarantee to address my concerns? And if you have questions on this afterwards, on the agenda is the planner's name with their phone number and email, and you can contact the planner on that. And Aaron Ardmore, correct me if I'm wrong, but all of these projects are still in the review process. So what we see tonight might not be what is presented before the Planning Commission and the City Council, because they're going back and forth with the city, making changes. But the fact that we're seeing these projects so early means that we have more resident input on that. Okay. We'll turn the time over.
Thank you. This is a commercial project with some residential in it. It's down on Lakeview Parkway and 1100 West. If you notice the orange circle there, that is the city's designation for commercial area. We've tried to really stick with what the city code and to follow that. We have the residential because we want to keep the residential separated so they don't feel like they're getting overwhelmed. So we have a couple of residential there on the end, some residential there on the end. And then we've got the commercial farther below that. Yeah, we are matching the zoning that has been across the street. If you notice that this picture is a subdivision that we have brought through and it's moving down the road. We've got commercial on the corner. We have LDR and we have single family homes. And so we've tried to match that same feel across the street with both of these projects. And this is the project. We've been approached by quite a few people asking us for ideas, from credit unions to hotels to restaurants. And that's kind of where we are. We don't know exactly where we're going right now. We just want to get to that point where we can solidify what we're doing. And we really like the feel of the project, and I hope you guys do too. So, any questions?
So is that big space to the south on Lakeview Parkway and 1100 West, is that space for a hotel?
We put a hotel there. After putting that there and having the engineers put it there, I'll be honest, and it could be something else like a C-store, because C-stores like to be right in, and hotels don't matter, but a hotel would be fine with us too. We don't know at this point until we get a little farther down the line.
So you're zoning without an actual plan?
We have a plan, but we don't have actual users yet. So to get users, you have to have the zone, because a user doesn't want to come and say, oh, that's agriculture. You know, you need to go down the road a little bit to get to that point where someone can say, I see that you've got the zoning. And it's the natural course of projects is to go down the road and get to the point where someone can say, oh, I can do that. I can do this. And so that's why we come here, is to make sure everyone's good with things and we have that natural progression. But if we have agriculture and we say, oh, let's put a C-store there, or let's put a hotel there, there's no way to do that because that zoning isn't in place. And so as we go down the path, and as this continues, we hope that you guys will come and ask questions and be part of this dialogue. And
So how does this overlay with the West Side Plan?
it's right on.
So if I remember correctly, the West Side Plan was for neighborhood convenience elements, not necessarily hotel, but I'm assuming hotels fall into general commercial is of what you're proposing. So without an actual plan of what you're going to put there, it kind of feels like you're just zoning to zone to try to see what you get instead of actually looking at neighborhood elements and helping the neighborhood grow.
We are following the city's zoning plan, what they have recommended. So we're just trying to go down the road and make what the city's asked for fit.
Okay, so but the residential is actually planned. The top side residential is planned. It's just the general commercial isn't planned.
Yes. So,
I have a question for you. Do your studies and planning so far involve any kinds of ideas or estimates on traffic increase on 1100 West?
I think that we haven't done that. We've done a traffic study, and we will provide that when we did the Lakeview, right next to that Lakeview Road, we did a traffic study. we will provide that. We are going to have some extra traffic on that road because of the road that goes through Lakeview Road. If you look at if you
Yeah.
look at
Oh, go ahead.
a couple back, this one here, sorry. Thank you, Rachel. So on this, we are following the general plan and the city's traffic plan. And we have this larger road in there. And so that should come out there, and it's going to go smaller. So that traffic isn't, you would think that they're going to go straight to Lakeview and not go through the subdivisions, because that road does get smaller. So it kind of restricts them from going that way, and it does funnel them on.
1100 West gets smaller.
Not
they-
1100, but what's the street that goes straight through there?
Lakeview Parkway? Or
No, the one that
Oh.
goes straight. See, if you go
1560 South.
yeah, 1560.
Yeah,
Sorry, I should
that's
have known
okay.
that.
That's okay.
As you go across the street, it into the residential, that shrinks down a little bit and becomes narrow. And so we should be able to keep that traffic in the commercial or in the retail, whatever, and not be in here. That's what I'm.
Thank you.
And I'm making some assumptions that I shouldn't, but I think that's what the city's planned, and that's why they've done it that way. Is my guess. We can probably ask Aaron, who you know a lot more than I do. So I appreciate it.
This is not so much a question for you, but more for Aaron. But 1100 is the only like intersection on Lakeview that doesn't have a light. Would adding a light be something we'd want to do before these projects, or just based off of the traffic, or does it say have a plan there?
So that's an engineering call. They're not here, but I know that those measures are based off of what's warranted. So once the traffic hits a certain count, then you start to see more traffic control, whether it's stop, yield, traffic light, things like that. They base it off the traffic count. So as this area develops out more, you may see more of that, but I don't know how the exact answer for that question.
Can I add something to that? So we have done a traffic study, and the traffic study that we paid for, that we had done, didn't warrant a light right there again. So I know that, but
Yeah, obviously right now, but as you build convenience stores, you'd think that the traffic is going to increase naturally, right?
and they said that it should be, we'll get that
Yeah.
traffic study in the
Yeah.
city, and they have it actually. So we'll continue to go down that path.
Have any other questions? Okay, any questions on Zoom, Rachel? Okay,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move on to our second proposed zone change. That is Tara Wilkinson. Is she? Oh, okay, awesome.
Good evening. This is a drawing of 2050 West. On the left side, or the north side, is Center Street. We own it's just over 5 acres that stretch from Center Street down to the far right, which is about 280 south. The Lakeview Crossing North is the 60 condos and the 10,000 square feet of commercial space that's approved, and we're in the final stages of permitting or applying for the permit for those. And then the just over 3 acres to the south is this Lakeview Village, which we're proposing. It's a unique piece of property in that it's narrow, and on the top side, or what would be the east side, the side fronting 2050 West is Collector Street, and so there's no driveway accesses that can go out there. You'll see that some really smart people in traffic have decided that that Collector Street shouldn't have driveways on them. And so we are limited in that we can't access anything onto that street. And so the suggestion was made that we consider the flexibility that's provided by the PD overlay. And that PD allows us to cluster, and it also allows us to access the entire site off of the street to the north, which is 130 South, and the street to the north, 130 South, and then to the south at that 280, what we think that'll be about 280 South. And so as we tried to fold in all the different demands of development, the way to make this to maximize the flexibility that the PD provides, we have the ability to cluster those units there to the south to make those affordable units. Nothing's affordable anymore. That's a misnomer, but we're trying to keep these at about $450,000. And if we were to spread those out, those same units that were there out across the site, those numbers, just by having the individual units, the cost of those units would be north of $600,000. So we're trying to make an affordable product. By clustering them, we're able to gain that affordability. And then also, as clustering does, it provides the opportunity to create a bunch of open space. So that open space that you see there to the north would benefit both the units that we hope to build to the south, and then also the project that we are building to the north, managed by an HOA, but it's over 1.5 acres, and it would be a pretty darn nice amenity. So the ask is for a zone change from R18, which is what everything in that area is, except for the stuff that's immediately across the street to the east or to the top of that drawing, which is R18 PD. So we just want what the neighbors have. And that allowed for them to do some flexibility back when those were built 20 some odd years ago. And then we want to use that same flexibility for the east to the south. Yes, sir.
So you're saying the green space is over 1.5 acres?
Yes.
Okay. And it looks like it's the diagram makes it look like you would like 18 units there.
Correct.
And looks like looks like it's about an equal amount of space.
It is
1.5 acres for 1.5 acres of green space. Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Also, if I failed to mention this, these are all for sale. So it's an ownership opportunity.
So the green space will stay green space. You won't eventually build.
That's correct. It's going to be part of the HOA's open space.
Okay.
And we're going to cheat just a little bit, just so you know. The ones to the north, since we're the developer of that too, we're going to do some kind of cross usage easement so that the Lakeview crossing to the north, those units there, will be able to have access to the open space as well to the south.
Will the surrounding neighborhoods be able to have access to that open space, or will that be kind of like a gated off just for HOA members?
Nope, I think that would be really rude. So we don't want to gate anything off. So yes, I'm sure that people can come over and enjoy that space as well.
And what about including a clause for when you sell the homes to discourage people from buying them and just renting them out? Do you guys plan on, or have you thought about including some sort of a clause where they have to live in the home for a year or two?
Yeah, we're exploring that. I think there's aspects of development agreements that are appealing. There's also aspects of the HOA CCNRs that have their appeal too. But I want those to be ownership opportunities. We have no desire to. We don't. They're all gonna be for sale. We want to steer it in the direction of ownership opportunities.
Along those same lines, are they just like a single unit? You don't have the opportunity to rent out the basement, or I guess there are no basements there.
There is no accessory apartments.
Okay.
So on the HOA, the You will be the initial HOA, the developers will be, correct?
We do. We set those CCNRs up as we, as the development goes forward.
And in those CCNRs, will you have a covenant that does not allow the common areas to be fundamentally changed in character?
It does, yes.
Yeah, great, thanks.
Sorry, we're just discussing those 18 units, that area, and the other part to the north has already been, the
Yes.
Lakeview crossing, that's already done.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions? Oh, yep, we have a question.
So you said with the Lakeview crossing to the north, you were going to use this property as amenities to that?
No, when I said we're gonna cheat,
Yeah.
the project to the north is a standalone, project. The
Okay.
project to the south, has that additional open space. And since I have the luxury of creating the first CCNRs, our expectation is to have some cross usage easement for both the north and the south to be able to use that common space there.
So you're kind of combining the two projects together then?
Sure.
Okay, and the one to the north is a mixed-use apartments and,
They're condos, and I want to pick my words very carefully. They're condos, they're for sale. And the retail space required by that zoning requires 10,000 square feet of retail on the ground floor, which will be on the north of those two buildings.
okay, so the north building will have retail and the south building will be condos, which are basically apartments for sale.
I don't look at it like that, but I suppose you could characterize it that way.
Okay, and is there enough parking? Because it doesn't look like there's enough parking for the apartments. Are they gonna overflow into your next project that you're kind of combining with your first project?
We did 2 parking studies and a traffic study, and there was ample parking. On the project to the north, the multi-unit use of that area, the retail parking, of course, is used during the day, and when the residential parking doesn't have the same demand, and at night that flips. And we took a look at that, and we had. I see your.
Well, I'm just questioning because you don't know what retail is going to go in there. And so if the retail is open until 9 or 10 at night, it will overlap with the residential parking. So I don't think that's a viable to say that retail parking isn't going to overlap with residential parking.
It doesn't, there is overlap, but there's a graduated distribution of the need. And so at 10 o'clock, yes, there still may be someone at the food establishment, but at 1 o'clock, there's not. And
so you can't park at your apartment until 1 o'clock in the morning?
Well, I can tell you what, we overparked it. And the flexibility allowed the uses to overlap, but it's, I'm not a parking expert. The parking experts that took a look at it twice and reviewed by our own, the traffic staff here with Public Works, were satisfied that we met that and exceeded those parking requirements.
Okay, I'm just worried that if you build the townhomes, and I know you have a lot of open space in between it, but if you're kind of mixing both projects together, you're not gonna have sufficient parking, and there's gonna be some there's always parking issues because we always reduce parking even though we have 2 to 3 cars per resident. So I don't understand why you're mixing the two, but that's me.
Okay, Steve, are you still planning on doing amenities for the project to the north? Are you gonna do rooftop amenities?
Oh, yes.
Like you presented in the council meeting?
Of course.
And what kind of amenities are those? You're not gonna mix those with the green space to the south?
No, and please understand, when I say when I say mixing the amenities, we're simply allowing neighbors to enjoy the space. We're not excusing ourselves from the amenity demand or proffer on the north. We still plan on putting I can't remember the exact amount, but like 9,000 or I think it's even closing in on 10,000 square feet of amenity space on the roof, which has the barbecue pits, the gardens, the kitchen for community events. Everything was promised is part of that development agreement, and it'll be delivered. But we're not excusing ourselves from any of those things that we profit on the north by blending into the south. That's going to be all new, everything new to the south.
So Steve, what assurances do we have that is going to be what you say it's going to be?
I guess the question is that I've heard it a couple of times is how do we know that that nice green space that you're using for amenities isn't in the future then going to be asked, hey, can we put townhomes here too?
The zoning doesn't allow it.
If you have a PD overlay, you can ask for another PD overlay.
My understanding was you said it's part of the HOA and it's in the covenants that it cannot be changed in general character.
That's correct. And the other thing is you have your gatekeepers. They're called city council representatives.
That's probably not a great thing to say in this crowd.
And I don't know what that means.
That's okay. Okay, thank you.
I have one more question. On the retail operations you plan north there, maybe you can describe a little bit about the building so that we might get an idea of what kind of retail you would expect there. Do you have any idea?
Sure. It's an interesting, the mixed use zone requires like 0 front yard setback. So we're talking about glass faced units that are immediately against the sidewalk. There is that, as you see that road kind of bulbs out there and you see in that drawing, it's green. That's actually owned by Provo City. And so it's not ours. We made a request that we stick some tables and umbrellas and some nice benches to use that space rather than have it just be a weed patch. But I will tell you, I was really surprised when we went through that approval process. I thought it was food. Stop by there and get a sandwich, that kind of thing. And we had plenty of interest about that. But I got to tell you, it was the physical therapist and the dentist that just about knocked our socks off. The physical therapist said they wanted to be there. They wanted to be close to the high school. They wanted to be close to the sports park. And I mean, literally, we've had to hold back the enthusiasm for being part of this area on the west side. And so
I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt real quick. We've gone off into the weeds about a project that's already been approved on that Lakeview crossing. If we can concentrate the questions on the Lakeview Village, which is still in the process.
Okay, thanks. Sorry for that. I didn't realize this wasn't about that. Okay, thanks.
So the green Lakeview Village has not been approved? Yes. Oh, well, that looks nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
I live right near here. I think it looks nice too. My one concern is like, I know they're not going to be driveways, but there's still a lot of turn-ins on that road. And like, I just wonder if there's a way to do like an in and an out or something. So I'm coming south on that road a lot.
From Center Street to the south?
From Center Street to this. I can see myself waiting a lot for people to turn and get in and out of there. I don't know if there's a way to look into that or not. But
can I tell you what we did? We hired the same traffic engineer that Provo has hired for their traffic studies. So no conflict of interest. Those kind of welded there together, and they said the impact would be 0, just because of the capacity of that street. But there's no doubt you add 18 units, you'll add traffic. We will look into that, and if a right in, right out makes traffic go easier, we're totally happy to defer whatever the Provo's traffic folks want to do.
Oh, okay. What about a bike lane? Because I like to ride my bike that way sometimes. Is there a bike lane that's going to be
Wait,
put in?
if Provo
on
wants a
the-
bike lane, we'll put a bike lane in.
I would really, that
we
would
have
be
to-
so much safer, especially if you're gonna have a lot of traffic with townhomes and stuff on that road.
Yeah, we have that obligation to fix that what would be the west side of that street. And if they want a bike lane in, we're thrilled and happy with that. That's
That would
good.
be great, because that's one of the safest ways to get to Pioneer Park from West Provo. If you ride a bike, you have to go that way.
Love it. Great idea.
Do you know if you're gonna allow on-street parking on 2050?
Who said that?
Sorry, that was me.
I'm sorry.
On 2050, like Geneva Road, are you gonna allow on-street parking, or is that all gonna be like red curbed?
We build it and Provo City regulates it. So if they want to red curb it, they can red curb it.
Okay. You're not like planning, like in terms of like the allowed parking for the units, you're not anticipating needing on-street parking to fulfill your
Nope.
parking requirements?
Nope.
Okay.
We have totally ample on the site.
Okay.
Okay, any more questions? So if it's not his decision, oh, sorry. So if it's not his decision about whether your decision, whether you put a bike lane, I know that the developers were required to do certain things by the city. When they were building in San Diego anyway, to provide for increased traffic flow and stuff, they were required by the city. So who do I talk to about that kind of stuff? Isn't it these people
You
right
can
here?
talk to Provo City Engineering on that.
Oh, and not these people right here?
Right.
Oh, I see. We have no power.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. All right, next up we have Brant Tuttle with the proposed zone change from PF to A1.
Hi, I'm the planner on the project, Mary. Yeah, so there's just this.
Mary will do all the
Here's
talking.
Brant. Yes.
And I'll answer any questions.
Yes, thank you. So I just have a really quick context map of where the project is. It's the kind of in the backyard of the existing Kenny Seng construction property. You can see Center Street up here. There's those McCord greenhouses, the Provo Airport just to the south. And it's just along Lakeview Parkway by those really new warehouses. And then there's a little close up of the property. You can see in the backyard here, it is empty. There's nothing there. So right now the zoning is A15, which is agricultural. And actually you can see a part of the existing site is in that zone. And then the rest of the existing site is currently zoned PF, which is public facilities. This zoning probably came around a long time ago. Kenny Seng has been there for a while. So this rezone is simply to rezone the entire property to AI or airport industrial. The general plan, the future land use map shows this area as being airport related activities in the future. So staff believes that this is a really great zone to kind of fulfill that future land use. So the reason why the applicant is wanting this rezone is so that they can build a office to the north here, a new office, and then a new maintenance shop to the south. So a total of 2 new buildings. This is, I should say, this is, we're still going through the first review with the applicant. So this may not be what it looks like in the end, but it's probably going to be very close to this. There's no change to the majority of the site. Everything that's currently built is staying the exact same. So everything against Lakeview Parkway is staying the exact same. And then just quickly, so from the street, you'd be seeing this from the office, and then you'd be seeing this from the maintenance shop, the one on the bottom. But just so we all know, there's actually a building in the way as well. So I mean, there's a lot of buildings, a lot of stuff going on that parcel, so you probably won't notice it as much. Any questions?
The only thing I would care about is if there are any setbacks that are changed for existing buildings or planned buildings in the zone change. Do setbacks change?
Yeah, so no, not for, so are you asking for like if these existing buildings are gonna have any issues.
Mhm.
when
And
the
then
zone
the
change-
proposed buildings, does that mean that they have more generous or more or easier setbacks by the zone change?
Great question. So right now in the agricultural zone, a warehouse and an office is not a permitted use. So it doesn't really matter about the setbacks. They just would not be allowed at all. That's why they're
Okay.
asking for the zone change. And then PF zone, public facility zone is actually usually for things like city buildings, actual public facilities. Obviously, this isn't a public facility. I don't know what it was when it became PF zone, but you know, it's just kind of a holdover. So that's why this rezone is going to be really great. It's true that the existing property isn't going to match exactly all of the requirements from the AI zone, especially because the AI zone is more of a recent zone that's been adopted in the past few years. But it'll just be grandfathered in. And as Kenny's saying, wants to update their existing property, they'll have to, if this rezone goes through, they'll have to meet the requirements of the airport industrial zone, which are a little bit more stringent or strict than the PF zone.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Maybe we could just add too that in our first review submittal with the CRC committee, that aviation drive on the very west side of the project.
It's just barely off of here. I
The
think.
city's
There it is.
worked out an alignment to continue that north, and then right at the north end of the Kenny Singh property, it's going to curve and go east, and then curve and then hook back up to the street to the north. Yeah, that
So like
street
this.
up, yes, at that route. And so we've worked with engineering. We've got the new alignment for the roadway, and we're just modifying our site plan. And with this zone change, we'll be resubmitting it. So that property will have access off of the aviation drive and through the current construction developments.
Are there any questions?
Sorry, I'm just curious how close that is to the runway. It's just curiosity, that's all really.
You can kind of see it. This isn't like the greatest, but it's just over here. We have a requirement in our code, and the FAA has a requirement that any proposed construction within a mile of an airport, you need to let the FAA know, and you're not allowed to have any lights pointing upwards, you know, stuff like that. So they should be good on the FAA side. But yeah, I don't know the exact amount of feet, but that's the closest runway.
Okay, well, that's good. They're supposed to follow some safety regulations and stuff.
Mhm,
And when
yeah.
you mean maintenance, you mean like car maintenance or plane maintenance?
It's so Kenny's saying it's a construction company, so it's going to be for their trucks and their
Diesel
I see.
their
repairs.
diesels and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, diesels next to the airplane. I'm just
Any more questions? Okay. I think.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We have Tyler Horan. Is that right? We'll be presenting on his ordinance text amendment for Lakeview Fields. All right, go
Yep.
ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, you can probably go to the next one. So, this is a project that we're doing. Wait, should I face like you people? Yeah, okay, sorry. I'm gonna look over here, but I think I'm talking to you guys. So that's the site. It's like right on the edge of Provo. It's on like the north edge. They're right by Orem, just west of I-15. So you can probably go to the next slide. That's a zoning map. We're in the SDP4 zone, which is pretty unique. It's like only in one area of Provo, and it's just right there where you can see. So it's kind of just a one-off zone. We can probably go to the next one. Those are some elevations of the houses that we would like to build. They're all single family detached. So we can probably go to the next one. We usually like offer kind of two exteriors depending on what people want. There's like a farmhouse, which is like country, and then those are the modern. Depends on the people that buy it. This is, like I said, kind of a unique development where this was actually approved. I don't know the exact year, but like 2008. It was a long time ago. Was it 6? Yeah, so 2006. So is that 19 years ago? I think it like almost got developed, but then I think the housing crash happened. I'm not sure about that, but that's what I would guess. So there actually already is a development agreement for this. And we're trying to update it because it's 19 years old and it's like pretty specific. It actually has like the house floor plans on it from like 19 years ago. And well, we just don't have those plans and they're pretty old. So we're trying to propose a couple changes. Kind of the main one is actually, like, we've been hearing that a lot of people don't like new houses that are just rentals. And so in our development agreement, which is pretty restrictive, right? Like, we're putting in there that they have to be sold to people that, well, I think what we're actually saying is that they can't be used as a rental. And that'll be enforced for 3 years after they're sold. So I think of all the ways of doing that, that's like the most restrictive that we're aware of. So we feel like it's a pretty good proposal. Like I said, we're updating the architectural basically offerings. So we just want to build our houses instead of the 19-year-old ones. For some reason, the old development agreement says we need to build like a cedar fence, but we just want to build a vinyl one, and that's what is already built on the development next to it. So we felt like that would make more sense. And we're clarifying that the HOA will take care of some of the like common areas. That's not everything. There is other changes, but we feel like those are the substantial ones. We can go through the whole document if you want, but I feel like those are the main ones. And then the next slide is the proposed text amendment changes. And if you want, you can read through all those, but to just kind of cut to the point, we're trying to build basically some skinnier lots than what was approved before. So the ones that were approved before were like 80 feet wide, and we're trying to build them 50 feet wide. So we're just trying to build a little bit smaller. They just end up being a little more affordable. But they're all still single family detached. So we feel like it's pretty reasonable. So is that okay? Okay, yeah.
As far as the home ownership you're offering, are you saying that every time they sell, they need to be owner occupied? It'll be in the CC&Rs? Like what's your offer?
What we're proposing, it's in the development agreement. So basically the way I understand it is like, it's going to be governed by when something is sold. Like they do a title search and that development agreement is recorded. And so they're going to say.
Okay, so it'll be deed restricted.
Yes, yeah. Yep.
Great, thank you.
Could you show the map again? I'm not sure I know where this is, but on my Google Maps, it doesn't pop up.
Wait, who?
2000 north. 2000 north against the building. So if you go up to the new light for the high school and go towards the freeway, it's right across from Wilkinson's farm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right. Well, isn't there a salvage yard right near there?
Yeah, there's like an auto salvage.
Yeah, across the street from where you're saying? Is that where?
The salvage yard is east of where we're
East,
talking about.
right.
Yeah, we're west of the salvage yard.
On the other side of the park.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So, that lot is the only lot that's zoned that way in the entire Provo city.
I don't know about like the word lot, but maybe, well, we have the zoning map. Can we go to that one? Yeah,
Oh, okay. So half of it.
I'm pretty sure that's it. I mean, the planning people are here.
Yeah, so that SDP 4 is in the lighter of the blue there, east of Geneva.
Yeah.
And that is the only place in the city that that zone has been applied.
Okay, thanks.
From the original specific plan development for that area, how many more houses will you be able to build with the text amendment update? I'm just gonna say for right now.
Yeah, it's a pretty good question. I think right now there's 30, but kind of 31 because basically because we have a dead end road, we're having to use one of the lots as like a turnaround, but like when the road goes through, we could build that lot. So 31, we did a layout that shows, I think we could get like 45, but I actually don't think that's possible because it's like, this is like the chicken or the egg thing, right? I think the planners did a good job of explaining, like, we just threw together a concept of what it would look like. And we're still going back and forth with the engineering folks who are going to say like, oh, we don't like this, we don't like that. You have to make this lot wider. So I think it'll end up being about 10 more, maybe more than that, but that's what I think.
So in your specific plan development, did you have a specified number of units per acre that you could develop? Does this change that at all?
In the development agreement?
Yeah.
Or the zone
Or the
code?
Because I know this was a specific plan development. I've
Yeah.
talked with these people. They actually tried to get rid of the HOA a couple of years ago.
The
But
single family people?
yes,
Oh,
there was a push to get rid of the HOA. But in the original planning, you had it built out all the way to the tracks. And you only had that 31. So changing this is gonna up the density. Is that can be allowed within the specific planning zone that you actually originally got?
I don't think there's any specific cap on how many units can be built. I actually do think there is a cap on how many, it's called like multifamily units can be built, which are like those, I think they're condos to the west, but I don't think there's a cap on the single family homes that can be built, if that makes sense.
Okay, so typically, I apologize. I'm just gonna tell you now, 10 years ago, I was on the West Side Planning Committee. And the overall density for the area was supposed to be 4 units per acre. And so allowing zone changes like this that ups the density in these areas means that the city council is either gonna have to, one, disregard everything that was before, which I understand that happens sometimes. Or two, only allow you to build the amount of units you were originally given in your specific plan development versus upping your density. So I'm assuming you're gonna ask for a higher density in this area than you originally had.
Yeah, I mean, you're telling me new stuff, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry. Okay, I was just wondering, and are you planning to, so you have no plan for this whatsoever other than those text amendment changes to the specific plan development?
We have, what do you mean?
Like no plot layout, no anything like that. You just want the text change so that you can work with the engineers in Provo City to create a new specific plan development.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand. I think maybe the answer to your question, we're not proposing, I can't even say that. We're basically not proposing any changes to the roads that were already approved, although the engineering department changed the standards from 19 years ago. So we do have to actually change the roads, but basically we're not trying to change the roads or anything. We're just like, instead of 80 feet wide lots, we're trying to do 50.
Okay. So you're asking for higher density in your development. Yeah, that's what I was asking. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and now we have Eric Jurgensen for proposed zone change.
Eric won't be here tonight, so I'll just present what his proposal is. So a lot of you in this room may be familiar with this area. It's been in front of the Planning Commission, City Council quite a few times in the past couple of years. So the map on the right is going through final stages of zone change, the R18 PD and RA for this airport industrial zone. The one we're talking tonight about is the one highlighted in red there, in the agricultural zone. So they're wanting to update that from the agricultural zone to the airport industrial zone to be able to produce something like you see on the right there, with some warehouses and flex industrial space. I think the next page are some conceptual renderings that the developer submitted to the city for review. So this one is currently going through staff review with the concept plan. I think we're comfortable with the zone change because it's meeting the general plan, but we're still working through details of the concept plan to make sure that if that gets tied to the rezone, that it's something that's going to work. So that's where that one's at. Any questions I could try to answer? Sorry, I'm Aaron Ardmore. I'm planning staff. I'm not associated with the project.
Wait, you're not associated with the project? Can you answer any questions?
I will try to answer any questions about the process or
Okay,
zoning
so
code.
this has not been approved, correct?
Correct.
So I recall going to a district neighborhood meeting about this last summer. I think it's the same law.
Might have been the
Yeah.
general plan change. So there's a general plan change from residential to airport related,
Okay,
and there have been past zone change requests on these properties. So
yeah,
Yeah.
but they have not been approved yet,
correct.
right? And we had a vote, I think I recall. And it was even or against. And I just think it's interesting that the second one that I decided to show up to, it's just like the same property. It's so close to the river. And it's so vague about what kind of places would set up shop there. We do not like it. We live right by there. We love the river trail that's going to pot now because of we love the Delta project, but it has caused major problems in the Provo River, and we do not like that. It's very bad. And I mean, I just see this, I mean, with the standing water in the Provo River, and then who knows what, some mechanic or something with who knows what kind of chemicals and oil. And I mean, it's too close. Why can't you put more easements so that, you don't have to put so many of these industrial buildings so close to a river that we're trying to, at least supposedly, protect, and lake that we're trying to protect, and to have a recreational spot that people are enjoying. This does not make sense to me in a city planning way at all. It's my question.
So let me try to respond without. So it's not my job to sell the project to you, but I can maybe clear up some details of it. Through the development agreement on the prior rezone, and that will anticipate on this rezone as well, there is specific details of park space against the river, pedestrian trail that wraps the property, and amenities that address the river so that that area can still be enjoyed. However, these zones do comply with the general plan that's been set by the city for airport related activities.
So the general plan allows for airport industrial north of Center Street. And that has all been passed and approved.
That's correct.
That's disheartening. Very disheartening.
So I think
This is, I live close to this neighborhood. This does not fit there.
So I think the
There's
thing
not.
that is hard is that we don't own the land. This is just my perspective. And so I know at the last meeting when we talked about this parcel, people were like, well, why don't we turn it into like the San Antonio Riverwalk or, but it's like, if you don't want to do it, if you don't own the land, like, and it's zoned for that in the general plan, like, I think there's a certain amount of like, I remember that they were going to have a trail that was included So that would continue to give everyone access to the river and the amenities that are the river. And so I'm just saying, I think we have to be reasonable in what we expect and the people that own the land and their ability to do what they want to do within the way it's zoned.
If I remember, this little lot that you're cutting out right here at the bottom, or that they're cutting out, sorry, that's actually an agricultural little plot too. This, to me, it seems like this is imposing industrial on top of what is really kind of intrinsic character agricultural zone. This has a lot of character as an agricultural zone in Provo. And it just seems to me like the airport industrial creeping this far north. It's a little concerning.
So just so I'm not directing my question at the wrong people again, how do we object to this again?
So this will come before Planning Commission and City Council. I encourage you to come out to both of those hearings.
Okay, because it was really vague as to when it was happening. I mean, there was a vote and then it was like, oh, it's going to go to City Council, but I never saw it announced clearly that it's going to City Council. There was a lot of opposition to it, and there would be more if people realized. I mean, you say that there's access to the Provo River. Of course, there's still access, but that's like saying there's access to someone's, I don't know, garage from their house. I mean, I don't like you I mean,
No, it's an actual easement. They record it.
But how much of an easement is it?
public
Because it
access
looks like
easement.
it's hardly anything in this map. What?
And we can talk in details outside of this venue. But
Well, why not answer how big of an easement it is? Is that a private
well,
conversation?
one that's subject to change, right? So like Rachel said, these are still under review. So I can
Okay.
tell you, I can get with you and tell you what the development agreement for the western portion had as far as a trail and those types of guarantees. But I think we're getting into details of a concept plan when what's before us is a rezone request.
Okay. Well, I'm against the rezone request. How do we say we're against the rezone request?
Again, watch the agendas to come out to Planning Commission and City Council. I encourage you to do that.
Okay.
All right, any more questions?
So I noticed that the plan for the site actually overlaid a residential property. And so it looks like the other area was already zoned for airport. If I'm getting it right, just let me know if I'm getting it right. It looks like the zone to the west of it was already rezoned, but you have that RA portion right there. And the plan on the right side of the screen, it covers that entire area.
So that map isn't up to date. So the R18 PD and the RA, that's all within with the first rezone request. So all of that is
Oh,
the
okay.
same.
So there is no RA there anymore.
Right.
Okay.
Once that zoning is processed.
I was like, you're gonna take out someone's house? This is-
They are. I mean, those are the property owners selling to these developers and
Gotcha.
they
Thank you.
understand that.
I appreciate that.
All right, do we have any more questions?
Okay, so if you look at Salt Lake Airport and you look at the towns around Salt Lake Airport and the areas around Salt Lake Airport, they are not places where people want to live. And so this is my concern about this, is spreading it so far north. I'm just making my concern, doing this kind of stuff around this airport without like a vote from the people. That is, I don't know, like surveys, I don't know, something more or some kind of showing that you're not going to end up some really concrete ways that you are not going to end up making West Provo like West Valley or whatever, all the places around the airport. That is what I see happening when we just allow people to sell their farmland and make it an industrial place with who knows what industrial there without making more requirements to limit it. So I'm saying that because you are part of the general plan of the city and you can give feedback, and we don't want that. It's going to lower the value of housing. It's going to lower the value of Provo in general. It's going to turn into a, don't,
Even residential is more moderate than going from like one end of the spectrum all the way to the other end of the spectrum, which is what this appears to want.
So Aaron, let me understand this. It is already zoned as airport industrial.
The general plan.
Has it
changed
zoned as airport
To
industrial?
not be residential. It got changed from residential to airport related activities.
And that's in the general plan.
It is.
So, and it sounds like the landowner wants to sell their land to this developer.
Yeah, they're done farming it.
Okay. So if people are concerned about this, the general plan extending the airport industrial north of Center Street, what is a productive way for them to address that concern? Who should they speak to?
Because it has already been changed, I suppose they can contact their council person, but that decision has been made.
Okay, so that decision has been made, and so that's kind of the point I want to get across to people is not saying that I don't have empathy for people, but just so we're all on the same page, people have a right to sell their land if they want to. And so the idea that we're going to control people selling off their land that they don't want anymore is kind of repugnant to me.
I don't think that that's what's being said here. What's being said here is this is a proposed zone change
Right.
from agricultural all the way over to airport industrial.
But it's
going
already
right
in the
past-
general plan to be
But the
airport
general
industrial.
plan doesn't prescribe that it be in that a zone change.
What
It
Aaron
doesn't
just
prescribe
said that.
zone changes. It just allows zone changes. If the people are against a zone change, that's not being against the general plan.
No, but what Aaron just said was because it's in the general plan for the zone change, that decision has basically already been.
I don't think so.
General plan is like the city's goals.
Right.
Right.
Let me
What their
clear this up
vision
if I
is,
can.
And it's gonna
Yeah.
align, like the planning commission is gonna recommend something, or they're gonna.
Based on the general
they're gonna
plan.
Get something that doesn't match the general.
There's a
plan.
residential zone right next to it. It doesn't have to become airport industrial just because they're going to allow airport industrial north of that. I mean, so if people want to show up and voice their concerns about a zone change, that's, as I
No,
understand it, that would be perfectly appropriate.
Absolutely. It just felt like it was getting into, well, we shouldn't let these people sell their land. And I feel like people should be allowed to sell their land if they so desire. So maybe I was wrong, but that was just the general feeling I was getting. And that's just my opinion, not any sort of, opinion of the board. Okay, so are there any more questions on that rezone? Potential rezone?
Well, I'm all for property rights and being able to sell your property and do what you want to with it, but I also think as a community, we need to consider the people that are around the areas where you're selling your property, and we need to consider the natural resources that you have and make sure that things are protected. Maybe give a nice, pretty, tree planted area, something, but there needs to be consideration. I agree with what John says as far as going from agricultural to airport industrial. That's quite a heck of a leap, especially for everybody that has built and lives in that area. And all of a sudden you've got all this industrial popping up around you just because you want to make sure to protect people's property rights. There's got to be a balance there with community rights as well.
Sure.
And then there's a lot of money to be made in selling for residential development.
Okay, so yeah, if you have feelings about this, definitely go to the planning commission meetings, go to the city council meetings and voice your opinion.
they said that this was going to be in the city council soon. And that was like, I mean, the last time we talked about this was, gosh, a long time ago. And I didn't see anything specifically related to it. Let me finish. Thanks. I didn't see anything listed. I've been following the neighborhood page and the city, and I haven't seen anything listed in this particular. So how, if anyone already knows, for example, when this is going to come up, and I mean, what's the label of this project? How do we know to look for it? Because I can't go to every single city council meeting and every single planning meeting. That's not possible. So what would this be called?
I can address
And-
everything you said there.
Yeah.
So when you saw it before, it was a different owner and a different request. Okay, so that never got to that council meeting because that owner sold to this owner. So this developer, this owner is now finishing the process with his own application. So it will be scheduled for planning commission first and then to city council. I anticipate in the next 2 or 3 months, they're getting closer through their staff reviews. So you can watch that. If you're within 500 feet of the property, you're going to get a postcard. We take the extra measure to put out a public notice sign the week before any public hearing on the property. And you could follow the agendas online. You could subscribe to that. So there's a number of ways to stay involved. That's going to be that PLRZ 2024-0374. That will be all over any notification.
You have an agenda. It's written on it. Oh, okay. Yeah. We're not expecting the deals.
Committed to memory, quick.
Okay, do we have any more questions or comments about this? Okay. Let's go ahead. Joe Heiling? Is this Aaron again? Oh,
Joel's here.
Okay.
But we're gonna do it together. So, all right. So Joel has built the warehouses that you see there in the airport industrial zone. Those 3 large buildings with the white roofs. He's purchased the property now to the west, adjacent to his property, and is applying to apply the same zone to that piece to tie that in and provide additional warehouse spaces through the airport industrial zone.
okay. Do we have any questions or comments about that?
That's a great place to do that.
Warehouses next door.
Okay. Any other questions or comments about that proposal?
On this one, you're right within the same area, right within all the same kinds of things, and you're not doing such a radical change of, putting something wild in the middle of all this natural resource. So I think that's beautiful.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Okay. All right. Thanks so much, Aaron. Okay, so now we have the elections for, well,
Right. Oh,
Go
I'm
ahead.
just
Go ahead,
gonna,
Rachel.
Interrupt real quick. Kind of the question on finding out about these meetings. Again, if you live within 500 feet, you'll receive a postcard. Check the website and social media. We have a brand new Provo City website, and Neighborhood District 3 has their own webpage. And if you scroll down to what's being planned for your neighborhood, anytime I have this public hearing alert, and it's divided by your neighborhood. And I keep track, like this one is going to the planning commission meeting on February 26th, has information about it. The ones that are going to the meeting, I tell you, I will update these as soon as they get scheduled to the planning commission. So if you just want to go to the Neighborhood District 3 webpage on the city website, scroll down to public hearing alerts. That's where you're going to find out when the meetings are. And I update that almost daily. So you can go, and I let you know when things have been approved. There's, you can read more about the projects. There's links. And so that's on the city website. Cause I know it's hard. I know it's hard. I put them in information 5 million different places, but it's going to be those are not going to be the places you're going to check. So I'm trying to put it all on the website to make it easy for you. Thank you.
Rachel's really good, and I try to keep up on him too. But she's really good about sticking when these things come out. But we're only sticking them to like the neighborhood pages or maybe an adjacent neighborhood page. So that particular one by the river, north of center, that's Fort Utah. So Rachel will post it when it comes through. I'll post it. And then if you look at my city council updates, I'll post what is coming that affects the west side. So it's usually these kinds of things, and sometimes we'll even stick pictures and graphics and stuff on the bottom. So we're trying to hit everywhere. But like she said, if you want to go to provo.org, and there's a provo.gov now, provo.gov now, and look at her page, she's got everything for District 3, which is everything west of the freeway. My District 3, my council District 3 also includes Franklin South and part of Franklin neighborhood. So it's a little bit different than the neighborhood, but the neighborhood is everything west of I-15.
Okay, so the next part of our agenda is our election. Elections are a little bit different now in that the board members are the ones that get elected to chair, vice chair, secretary. And I asked the board who wanted to run, and we had one person that wanted to run for chair. So it's automatically Andrew Terry will be our chair. You want to raise your hand so we know. So look for him. He's the one that's going to be the information, your questions, your concerns that are brought up in these meetings. Andrew will be taking those concerns to the Planning Commission and the City Council. So he reports what is said at these meetings. But we also need citizens to also go to the meetings too, if it's something you feel strongly about. And then we had one person that wanted to be vice chair, which is Haley Glenn. And then Brooke Barnes has volunteered to be our secretary. So we do have an opening for another vice chair. I don't know if Derek or John want to volunteer for that, or Matt online, if any of them want to volunteer. District 3 is always a game of knotted as far as who wants to be chair. And we really appreciate Brooke. Brooke has done an amazing job this past year as chair, going to the meetings representing the west side. So we really thank her for that. But okay, so do we approve as residents here at this meeting for Andrew Terry as chair, Haley Glenn as vice chair, and Brooke Barnes as secretary? Anyone opposed? Everyone thinks it's great? Okay. Awesome. Okay. And then
All right. Oh, all right. So we were going to take a few minutes to talk about matching grant project ideas. Do you guys, does anyone, do you want to go ahead, Haley? Did you have something? Oh, yeah. Oh, explain it. So our matching grant program is basically the city gives us money every year in order to improve some place or some places in our district. And in order to earn that money, we have to perform so many service hours. My mind is going blank. But basically to earn that money. And then they give us the money in order to do these projects. So last year we did a speed sign at Fort Utah, right? The Fort Utah area. Oh, was it Sunset? Oh, yeah. Started out Fort Utah, ended up Sunset. And then we also put in 2 park benches at the Lakewood Park. And so it's things like that. And so we have been, as a board, we kind of decide, but obviously we want your input on what you guys think would be helpful to do with that $7,500, keeping in mind that it's only $7,500. So it's not a lot of money. I know I've had some people suggest to me to like put in sidewalks or put in a roundabout, and like that's not going to happen with $7,500. So even a swing set, I think Rachel said it was like 90,000. for a swing set. So they have to be sort of smaller projects. I did talk to Parks today about potentially putting in some soccer goals at Lakewood Park, and the feedback I got back was there is actually an easement for part of the property of Lakewood Park that not Provo Power, but some power company owns part of Lakewood Park, Utah Power. And so because of that easement, we're not allowed to put anything permanent in any spot that is part of that easement. So one thing that they did suggest were pop-up portable soccer goals that could actually be used by anyone, and they could just come and take them and use them in the park. So that's one idea. I'm working with Public Works to see if it's feasible to potentially put in like some basketball courts. We have to just make sure that it's like legal because it's on like potentially a city street. So those are some ideas. I know I've gotten a lot of feedback about more street lights. And that could be an option too, but we'd probably only be able to do like a street light or two because they're pretty expensive. So anyway, that's just my input from what I know. I don't know if any of the board has information or if you guys want to, add your thoughts.
Are you saying Lakewood or Lakeview?
Lakewood.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So Lakewood, it's the newer park that's over. It used to be Powerland Park.
It's right
A
next
lot of
to
people call
the
it.
I-15 by Provo,
Yeah.
like the other
Oh,
side of the
okay.
Provo Mall.
Thank you. Well, I have talked to my neighbors where I live. Near where I live, there's a neighborhood just south of Lakeview Elementary that there's a street that goes over to Lakeview Parkway from 2770 West. A lot of traffic that's coming from Geneva westward goes on that road. If you go on the road, a lot of people go on the road that goes by the elementary school to get to the high school. And these are a lot of high school students driving. But some of the clever ones have figured out that if you take one street to the south, which is a very, I would say, high density area for families, and it has a very blind corner, a lot of high school students are taking that route to get to the high school, and they're going at excessive speeds. Unfortunately, we have a lot of children crossing right at that corner where to go to Lakeview Elementary because they go into the park at the south end of the park and then into the school. And so it's a blind corner, and the high school students that corner is actually not a 25-mile-an-hour corner. It's like a 10 to 15-mile-an-hour corner. That's how blind it is. And they're coming around at 35 miles per hour. And the kids are at the hours that the kids are going and coming home is very close to the time that the high school kids are driving by. So sorry for such a long explanation, but some people are wondering if a crosswalk might be in order or something like that. So that's just an idea I'll throw out there.
Are you thinking would you guys want like a crosswalk with like a crossing guard or just a crosswalk?
I don't know that it would need a crossing guard. I think the people are concerned that this is not a situation of if, it's a situation of when, because there's so many dangerous elements coming together that if something, I think if people learn that there's a crosswalk there, they'll slow down because there could be somebody in the crosswalk.
Right.
So I don't know that there needs to be a crossing guard. I'm probably not.
Okay. Like with a speed, like maybe a speed sign too?
Yeah, that might work too.
Okay.
Might work.
Oh,
Yeah, that's funny you were mentioning that because I had an idea for something similar, and I think soccer is fun and it's cool. They have soccer goals at a lot of the parks around here, and so including the Epic Sports Park, even though that seems locked all the time. But same thing. I was thinking if you want to do something small, if we only have a small budget, there's Center Street with the airport, people driving so fast. Even with that speed sign telling them to slow down, there's the Mennonite families and their kids across the street by the Mennonite church down by the It doesn't have a stoplight. The one past it has a stoplight. Yeah, but the kids are always crossing the street there. There's always a ton of trailers being flipped there on their way to the state park because people, high school students, etc., are driving too fast on that road. Anyway, so that's my other thought about it. Something small like that, like a sign saying, flashing sign, kids crossing, or because that's a very popular place for them to cross and there's nothing there. Stuff like that, I think would be safer. Well, at least, save lives, would be.
If you work with the Lakeview Elementary School Community Council, they can put that on their safe routes to school, and that's state law. So
Great.
I would suggest talking to them.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
I have another question for Terry. In Provo Bay, we have like very few public spaces to choose from for like a matching grant idea. We don't have a park to put a bench in or anything. If we had an idea for like updates to this school, something the outside of the school, so the matching grant has to be something visible from the street, right, Rachel? Like a physical improvement.
Right. Like it can't be used for like a street party or something like
Right.
that. Some type of improvement, but it could be done at an elementary school. It could be done at a public park. Could even be done on private property that is visible to the public.
Okay, that answers my question.
So, Terry, are you thinking that like we could potentially get like crosswalks? Sorry, I'm just
Yeah.
okay, have them take it to their community council.
Yeah, put it in the safe routes to school.
Okay. And then we don't have to use our matching grant money on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that we coordinate with Provo City School District on that? Is that what?
No,
so
you
we're-
want to coordinate with the individual school. So you were talking about something around Lakeview Elementary School. So you want to contact the principal and she can give you the email or phone number. I'm sorry, I don't know who the community council chair is for Lakeview. And then you guys can put that on the agenda for community council meeting and make that happen.
I have actually sent an email to Jamie, but I didn't get a response, but we can try again.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Or Emily Harrison's brand new school board member for that area.
Okay.
Any other ideas or comments?
This is mostly in jest, but tire spikes or speed bumps. I don't know if there's a standard though for speed bumps. It's kind of frowned upon, but it does seem more economical.
Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure Provo doesn't allow any speed bumps. Yeah, maybe not spikes either. Am I right, Rachel? Provo City does not do speed bumps? Okay. Because of the snowplows, I'm assuming, or something. Okay. That was a good idea though. Yeah.
Okay.
Just one more idea since just to provide some kind of water bird sanctuary stuff. I don't know why, but in the last few months, but it's never happened before, but there's been a lot of water birds that have come onto our street or in our yards. It doesn't really make sense. I don't know if it's because of the Delta project or what. Yeah, but there's like a bird that got stuck in our yard and it needs a waterway, runway. We don't have one. Anyway, stuff like that, but like some kind of, there seems to be an increase in that. I don't know, we just keep seeing more on our street. Probably because of Delta, and there's got to be some kind of, I know 7,500 is not a ton, but some kind of something to help with that.
Yeah, that sounds good. We'd have to figure out who owns the land and stuff. Because sometimes they're just the.
So if there's like lost birds, like the only resource I could go to when there was this water bird that no one knew how to take care of were like people in Salt Lake. And I don't know, something like that, like awareness, because there's going to be more of this happening, I would bet, just because of the Delta. There's going to be birds landing in people's yards that need a waterway and stuff. That's just my theory based on experience in the last few months. So, that some kind of, educational, okay, call this number if you see a lost waterfowl, or I don't know, some kind of resource like that, even something.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I sent papers. And also, there are a ton of stray cats. Everyone lets their stray cats down by our street, and because we live by the river. And so we had 5 stray cats under our porch that were just born a few months ago. And there are tons of stray cats around. And every time I drive by Provo High, right by that Delta project, I see a stray cat here, a stray cat running over there, a stray cat running over there. So people, and then we had 3 bunnies come into our yard too, because people drop their bunnies off. So some kind of like educational stuff along the river, like don't drop your pets off here. I don't know, something.
I think the city is doing something about stray cats, aren't they?
They're not.
Oh, they're
They
not.
voted down the TNR.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think city council said yes, but the police said no. So there's no TNR, right, Becky? No TNR. Thank you though. So I would say for those of you that have expressed ideas, get with your representative here on the board, and we can figure out pricing and availability for those ideas and go from there. So, all right, anything else? Okay, I think we're gonna go ahead and move on to traffic study results. Rachel's gonna do that.
So Vern Kiesler, our traffic manager, did a bunch of traffic studies. These are online on the Neighborhood District 3 webpage. I'm plugging it. That's where all this info is. And so I'm going to go through these pretty quick. So this is 1020 South, 1100 West. He just has some definitions here. Okay, so around this area right here. So 1020 South is a local street, 1100 West is a collector street. And then it had some warrants. They were looking for if they could do an all-way stop there. And there's certain things you have to, and this is through the state, certain things that you have to qualify for in order to have that. And so there were 2 crashes right here in this area. And those crashes were in 2021 and 2022 on that. And this is where he had the speed and volume monitors were right here. And this was done back in March is when he did this. And so the speed results, this is for 1020 South. The speed limit is 25 miles an hour. And the average speed is 27 eastbound, 26 westbound. The 85% speed, that's one that's more true because that's like 85% of the people are going this speed or lower is 33 and 29. But look at these highest speeds. We had 8 people going between 46 and 50 eastbound and just one going westbound 36 to 40. But for speed limit 25 and they're going up to 50, I mean that's kind of crazy. Speed bumps and spikes, spike strips, speed bumps. And then it averages about 38 to 44 vehicles per hour, eastbound, westbound. And then this is for 1100 West. Again, it's 25 miles an hour. This was done in October. The 85% speed is 41 northbound, 38 southbound. And here again, quite a few people going in the 50-mile-per-hour category on that street. And the volume is about the same, about 40 to 45 vehicles per hour. Okay, and so this is where he has to follow the instructions on whether or not you can have an always stop. And so there was only 2 reported crashes, so that doesn't warrant it. There's good sight distance, so that doesn't warrant it. And then there's different things about traffic control, which again didn't warrant it. It's just a bunch of not warranting it. The volumes are not high enough. They're looking for more like 300 vehicles per hour, while we're looking at about 40. And then it says not warranted for other factors due to existing pedestrian crosswalk on that. So kind of the summary: 2 crashes in 3 years, posted speed limits 25. The 85% speed, you're looking at about between 30 to 40, depending on 1020 south and 1100 west. About 87 vehicles per hour when you're looking at both directions. The always stop controlled warrants are not satisfied. Therefore, the existing stop sign on 1020 north is sufficient for the intersection. And that's his contact information. He always gives us contact information, but these are the things he has to follow. And he can't just put in an always stop because we want an always stop. He has to prove it, and it's pretty hard to prove. And so this next one is 890 south and 1100 west. So again, the definitions. Here's kind of the map of the area. It's just a little bit farther north. And again, it's the warrants for the always stop. No crashes at this location. So 0 crashes reported from 2021 to 2023. What was that?
The street is brand new.
Is it brand new? That must be why there's no crashes.
I would say put it in here.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so, and then here's where the speed and volume monitors were located. And then the speed results, I'll just, I'm just going to hit these. These ones not quite as fast as those other areas, but you'll see the numbers of the number of people doing it. It seems to be not as fast, but you have more people going in that 35 to 40 instead of the 25. And then, again, it's a pretty quiet street, only between about 18 to 34 vehicles per hour. So very calm street. And then 1100 west, again, you're having quite a few people go up in that 50-mile-per-hour category. And again, the volume is pretty low. It's in the 40s. And so he has those same warrants that he has to satisfy. And 0 crashes. Again, it's a new street, good sight distance. They have not meet for the traffic signal. The volumes are not up. You know, again, it has to be about 200, 300 units per hour. And there is a pedestrian crosswalk. So again, on that one, the always stop controlled warrants are not satisfied, and the existing stop sign on 890 South is sufficient for the intersection. That's something that can be done again, but we do need 3 years between traffic studies. So he won't be able to do this one again for 3 years, unless something major is built, like if a school or something is built, then I'm just saying, if there's a school there, then we might want to look into doing that, because then that will change it drastically. And then the next one is the 560 South and 2470 West. This one he did a weekday study and then a weekend study. I'm not quite sure why. Oh, the sports park. See, I don't live in your area. I don't know this stuff. See, this is why you guys know about the new streets and schools and everything. Okay, so again, right about here. So 560 South, 2470 West. Again, the warrants for an always stop. And no crashes reported. And this is where the speed and volume monitoring locations were. And this is the one, so this is the weekday. This is Tuesday through Thursday, and this was in October. Again, the speed limit's 25. And I don't even know how you guys are getting this fast on these streets. Is it the new Epic Lane that just goes straight? Yeah, just one person going eastbound, but quite a few people going westbound, but luckily not as fast on that one. Volume, again, real low numbers here. 19 vehicles eastbound, 21 vehicles per hour westbound. And then this is the 2470 west, again, 25 miles per hour. Again, I mean, 15 people going in the 40, 45, 2 in the 50s. And the volume again is really low. And nothing's meeting the warrants for an always stop. Yes.
Was one of those days that he did that study, was that one of the days of the events of this sports park? It was October 1st, 2nd, and
October
3rd.
1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
And it opened in September, correct?
Yeah, and the weekend report's coming up next, so maybe that one will be different. We'll see. So, because this one is looking, the numbers are looking pretty low, but again, it's not meeting the warrants. So 0 crashes, 85% speed is 31 miles per hour, about 40 vehicles, 31 warrant is not satisfied, so existing stop sign is sufficient. And so the next one, this is the same area, 560 South, 2470 West, but this one is supposed to be on the weekend. Now let me check what dates there are. No crashes. And this is again where he had his speed and volume location. So October 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, Thursday through Sunday. So again, a few people going in the 46 to 50 mile per hour. Most people, average speed 27, that 85% speed is 31. The speed limit's 25, but let's look at the volume. I mean, the other ones were so low, it was about like 17. So now it's about 44 going eastbound, 32 going westbound. So still not a ton. And let's see the speed results for the other ones. Again, people like, 59 people going in the 40 mile per hour range, 2 going up to the 50s. And the volume a little bit higher on this road, 48 vehicles per hour on northbound, southbound, 35 vehicles per hour. And again, none of the warrants were met for an always stop. And so the existing stop sign on 560 South is sufficient for the intersection. And again, this information is on the website. And Vern's information is on there. Each district gets 5 traffic studies a year. That's January to December, so 5 on them. And I think these were all done last year.
Rachel, I know this is not your wheelhouse, but I'd be curious to know. I know he's doing like 48 trips per hour. What does that equate to per day?
Oh, okay. It should be, let's see. So it
we're
has
still
them
pretty-
daily. So it has.
So we're still pretty low.
Right.
I mean, for West Provo, that's high, but we're still low comparative to.
Right. Well, I mean, considering the warrants are like in the 200s to do more traffic calming.
Per hour or per minute? Yeah, per hour.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, yes, that next one. So 300 units per hour, and then Oh, okay, so this one is major street and minor street, 200 units per hour. So we're not even coming close to those numbers to warrant of always stop as opposed to just the regular stop sign. But, and again, if you're ever curious, I'm plugging the website. If you scroll down and right here, traffic studies, this is where I upload all the traffic studies as they come in. And it's those slides that Vern creates. And it's just right there for anyone to see. Okay. I think
All right.
that's all I have.
Yeah, thank you. So now we're open for public comment. If you have a comment you would like to make, go ahead and raise your hand. Okay, anybody with comments? We're good. All right, anybody on the board? Or anyone in Zoom? No? Okay. Okay, well, we'll go ahead. We don't have to announce you already did that, Rachel, right? Okay, so we're okay to all right, we'll go ahead and adjourn. Thanks so much for coming.